Hello and welcome to Onion Unlimited, the podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Torridon, and you're joining me on a journey of spiritual enlightenment again as I peel back the layers of life and explore the big questions. On today's show, we've got Sascha. Hello, Sascha.
Hey, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Sascha Graham from the Little House of Healing, which is based whereabouts, Sascha?
Currently in Corona Downs, but also available via Zoom and workshops around Brisbane.
Fantastic. So for anyone that's just tuning in now, we did actually go live at 7 o'clock this evening, but for some reason the server went down at about 2 minutes into the chat. So the last half an hour of our conversation that we've had has sort of gone out there into the ether. But that's okay. We can do it again. We can do it again for the folks, can't we? And I'm absolutely paranoid now. I'm looking at the timer on my thing to see if it's still going, and it is. So we're good. So we've got Sascha from Little House of Healing on as a guest. We've got over in the corner there, we've got Mariella.
Hello, I'm back.
You're back again from the corner of obscurity over there. And we're going to be talking all about energy this evening, aren't we? Again.
We are.
We're talking about energy. Energy, and particularly
and
how
whatever else comes up.
And
Energy
whatever else comes up. So we're talking about energy, and we're talking about how it relates in particular to healing. Now, we're going to start with the idea of what energy is. So for me, coming from particularly from a scientific sort of background, when I think of energy, Sascha, I think of physics, I think of mass. Is that the same kind of energy we're talking about when we're talking about spiritual healing?
Absolutely, yeah. So quantum physics, scientific research, all of that has determined that we are all energetic beings. We are energy. We are made from energy. So the principles of energy healing and sound healing all work on that basis. So it works on the principle that if we're all made of energy, that if something gets stuck in that energy field, generally an emotion, an unhealed emotion, that stops the flow in our body from allowing us to work at our optimum and make our best decisions, be as healthy as we can, have the right energy. A lot of, if you're looking at Eastern medicine rather, life flow, chi, all that sort of thing, it's all about the energy flow through your body. And energy healing and sound healing is all about releasing anything that's blocking that from working at its optimum.
Okay, yeah. I mean, earlier on I said to you that I've got a lot of mass, so I must have a lot of energy. It was funnier the first time, wasn't it? It was funnier the first time.
Yeah. Got a big laugh.
But you're saying that we've all got these kind of energy points in our bodies. These are I've heard of the expression chakras before. This is related to chakras, and Reiki healing is to do with chakras, correct? Could you just talk us through that?
That's right.
What are the chakras, and how does this relate to energy in general in the body?
Yep, sure. So the chakras that we deal with in Reiki generally, there's 7 of them. There is some contention about there being 114 of them. But for the purposes of what I do on a day-to-day basis and what most people deal with in their Reiki or energy healing is the 7 main chakras. Okay. So we've got the crown chakra, which sits just above your head. And we did talk about before about the fact that they're like a wheel. So I think the direct translation of the word chakra is wheel from memory. And so basically you just imagining these chakras with an energy wheel sitting, so your crown is just above your head. Your crown is about your connection to your higher self and your life purpose. The second chakra is your third eye, and some people go up and down, some people go down and up. I go up and down because that's how I work in my practice.
Yep.
So that you've got your third eye, which is linked to your intuition and imagination, and also so that really connects into your spirituality. Then your throat chakra, which is all about speaking your truth and ensuring that your inner truths are communicated also to others and to yourself. So sometimes people come in and they have blockages in their throat chakra, but it's because they're not actually being honest with themselves. So that it's as well as, not being able to speak out your truth. So your heart chakra, obviously quite logical, but not just about love for other people, love for yourself too. Your solar plexus, which is just basically where your sternum is your control center, so your control of your life, your confidence, all that sort of thing. Your sacral, which is just below your belly button, is your emotions and how you relate to others, as well as your sexual and creative energy.
Right.
So if that's blocked, that's obviously going to impact you greatly. And your root chakra, which is, we were talking about before, the base of your spine, is your stability and security, your ability to withstand challenges, and it relates to you being grounded as well. So present in the moment, here, and seeing what's happening around you.
Right.
So I think the things that I was touching on, the things that I come across a lot are blocked throat chakras, but also blocked sacral chakras for women, in particular, because we hold a lot of our emotions. We're often people pleasers. We repress our emotions, and so we really suppress them, I should say, our emotions, and really hold them down. So we tend to sort of get them, just let them stick around our middle.
And how does that kind of manifest itself? Does it manifest as like a physical ailment of some kind, or?
It can manifest as weight. So for me, for example, that's one of the things I'm always working on, because I am a reformed people pleaser who often falls back into the people pleasing thing. So I know that when I am in alignment and my flow is, and I'm unblocked, basically, I am able to, my weight falls off, basically. When I'm
really interesting.
On to a whole lot of stuff, it comes back. Yeah,
that's really interesting, actually, with the emotions and that, because Mariella, you and I are from quite suppressive backgrounds, aren't we? Mm-hmm. Where we weren't sort of really able to express ourselves or anything like that.
That's right. Yeah,
and also quite a lot of loss. And I use the word trauma, but I'm not referring to kind of physical trauma. I'm talking about emotional baggage, sort of thing. And that can show itself in weight gain, throat. That's interesting, because when I was
so trauma, so actual trauma, so emotional trauma, and I think we were touching on this a little bit earlier. There's physical trauma, there's emotional trauma, and then there's what people are referring to at the moment as trauma, but really it's just unhealed emotions. So there's sort of three different categories to me. So from what you were just saying, what you actually went through emotional trauma, and obviously a lot of healing needs to happen around that. But so that trauma can actually sit in your body and come through as a physical ailment.
Yeah.
So, for example, we were talking about
because I've got a pain in the base of my spine, in that sort of tail area, and that's the root chakra, which is all about feeling secure.
Yes. And interestingly, your back is, when you have backaches, are traditionally linked to not feeling supported, either financially or emotionally. Very much something that, if you look into it a little bit, do a bit of a deep dive into that, you'll probably find that it relates to what you've been through, and just something that you're holding on to that you haven't been able to let go of.
That's interesting.
And that's what energy healing and sound healing does. It helps you to release those things.
Is it possible that you could go from, so for example, Mariella and I mean, we're really happy in our relationship now, and we both feel very secure and looked after and supported, but in the past we didn't. Is it possible that could still be hanging around from something from the past?
Absolutely. It's most likely, because, these things do come up generally at the time, like it is generally something that comes in around a certain time. And if you look back and you go, that happened at that time and I wasn't feeling supported. but then it sticks with you because it's a trauma, or an unhealed emotion that you haven't let go of.
It was around about this time of year, wasn't it? 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. That's really interesting. And Mariella was just nodding at me when you were talking about the heart and the self-love. In your before we got together as a couple, you were doing a lot of chakra work with your heart, weren't you?
Heart chakra work.
Tell me about that. What
heart
were you doing?
and throat chakra, but
heart and throat,
particularly heart. Just relearning how to love me.
Mm-hmm.
And to find the value in myself being on my own. Because, marriage breakup where I was a full-time carer.
Mm-hmm.
I was very much a people pleaser, particularly from about the age of about 20 onwards. I became a really, really dedicated people pleaser.
Yeah.
To the point of my own detriment. And just relearning when you have nobody else to please because you've lost everyone from your life, relearning that I'm very important too.
Mm.
And that's what happens with people pleasing. Like it is actually always to our detriment. So people pleasing is never to our benefit because we're actually saying to ourselves, you're not as important as that person or that other person or those people or that group or whatever it is that you're pleasing. So you're constantly saying to yourself, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Because this is more important.
Yeah.
And so if you're constantly telling yourself that and you're constantly people pleasing, and as we know, it's all good to people please, but you always end up losing out.
Exactly.
Because you're always putting more into it than anyone else ever gives back to you.
That's right.
So to go full circle with that and say, actually, I am the most important person in my life to please. We're all brought up by society to say that that's really selfish. Actually, that's the most important thing you can ever do in your life is make sure that you are happy, balanced, looking after your own needs, so then you can give to everybody else whatever you want, but not through necessity to try and get their validation or to please them to fit in or whatever, because you're honouring yourself. You can then help other people honour themselves. And
I agree with that. I think for me it was I didn't feel worthy unless I was doing something for someone else. And so
and you're not alone.
And that was it was by necessity because I found myself literally on my own with no support network, that I had to rely on me. I had to learn that if I could be there for others, I have to be there for me. And so that was.
And I think as well, we were both in a situation where we were in a very strict religious background, where we weren't really allowed to express how we actually felt about things. And I think we were both more spiritually inclined than the religion would allow us to be, if that makes sense. I always felt from a sort of organised religion point of view that I was being kind of suppressed in some way. Were you the same, Mariella?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And if you did ask questions, if you did express a doubt, it was very quickly shut down.
Yeah. And then anything like what we're doing now as well, like talking to you all about energy healing and Reiki and sound healing and this kind of thing. I don't know if you've come across this at all, Sascha. Have you ever kind of come across religious people that feel that what you're doing is actually some sort of dark force, or it's something that you shouldn't be doing if you're a God believer or a Bible believer or something like that? Is that?
Well, it's interesting. I think when I was younger, I certainly got that feeling from. I was not in organised religion like you guys were, but I did go to church and I went to youth group and all that sort of thing growing up. And I just was the person who asked too many questions. And I think I got kicked out of youth group in like year 7 or something because I didn't mean to be disruptive, but I was asking, I think we were talking a bit earlier about, why, if God loves everybody, why do I have to not talk to that person because they don't they're not the same religion as me, or they don't adhere to the rules that we do. And that then led me to realise that my feeling is that organised religion is just there to control people. And I could never understand how there could be like 10 different versions of the Bible if the Bible was a document that was, like that's the document, that's what it is. So I realised that it was a translation by a human who has their own spin on what they feel needs to happen. So anyway, I mean that's a
so
whole other
you
sort of story.
You do still believe in God? Is it
Yes.
is it the traditional kind of view of God? The old man sitting on a throne, judging everybody. No.
Because if God was a man, or not a man, I mean a person, a human being.
So you don't actually.
How would that work?
You don't actually think of God in human terms.
No. I think of God as a spiritual being, concept, whatever you'd like to say.
Yeah.
So I believe we're all connected, so that we're all part of a greater consciousness. I believe that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and that I'm here to learn and grow. And that at the end of my life, I will go on to the next part of my journey. I don't believe that, we just have, our 50 to 100 whatever years and boom, that's it, we're gone. I absolutely don't believe that.
I'm 54 now, so knocking on heaven's door.
My dad passed at 55.
Yeah,
so
my nan
time.
passed, I think she was about 54, something like that. And I just passed 54 the other day, and I was like, oh dear. But it's what you seem to be saying there. That fits very much with some of my views of Advaitism, which is a Hindu philosophy. I always find that Eastern religions are less religious and more philosophical than Western religions. Western religions, to me, although they kind of, certainly Christianity teaches the oneness between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, it doesn't seem to translate into individuals. Everybody thinks of himself as an individual self, and everybody else is separate to them, and it just results in a lot of judging and division between people. Whereas I tend to kind of think of, I don't really use the term God, because that to me sort of implies having to worship and pray and be judged and everything. I tend to use the word source, and I think of that as like a single consciousness that operates through everybody. So through you, through me, through Mariella, and even it's even the same one consciousness that is operating through people that we would consider bad. Whether it's Jesus or Hitler or Charles Manson or Dalai Lama. It's the same one consciousness that's working through all of us. And that to me, from a religious point of view, people will look and judge and they say, oh, they're a bad person. But from a spiritual point of view, especially if you're into sort of non-duality and this oneness principle, it's that principle of there go that person, by the grace of God, there go I kind of thing, isn't it? Where you think, if I was them, actually was them in their body and their brain and everything, experiencing life their way, that could just as well be me. It's a lot less it's a lot less judgmental, and it's a lot more kind of trying to understand how other people tick and seeing if we can help in some way.
And gratitude for the experience that we're having. I remember when I was young, I was saying sort of before that I always felt very connected to the universe. I felt connected to people. I felt connected to the world, even though as human beings I could see we were all disconnected. But it really allowed me, it was coming from a very non-judgmental point of view, which allowed me, that real ability to just sit there and say, okay, well, yes, sure, this person's in jail, they murdered somebody. But if we judge purely based on those facts, so we assume that person's evil or bad or whatever the word you want to put to it is, we're not giving them any credence to why that happened or how that happened or what they want to do with their life, or do they feel awful about what happened? There's so much to it. And so so I'm spending all my years now trying to get back to that place of absolute non-judgment where I can just, because I can help people better from that place.
You can,
if I'm not judging, their circumstance or where they're coming from. And I also used to think when I was younger, how lucky and how amazing it was that I was born in Sydney, New South Wales, and had a life where I went to Riverside Girls High School and whatever. How amazing is that when there's somebody else born in Ethiopia who's starving now?
Yep.
How was I that person and they were that? You know what I mean? I used to think it could easily have been me that was born in Ethiopia. Like, obviously now I believe that wasn't my journey, but at the same time, that whole,
you could just have easily, you could have just, it is 1 degree of separation. Yeah. I mean, I tend to think that if I was in your body, using your brain to navigate human life, I would probably feel the same. I've just got that sort of feeling that if we were to be able to sort of swap bodies, we'd go, hang on a minute, I'm still just me. But sometimes it's the biological and the kind of biological makeup that you find yourself in your body, the way your brain works, the kind of experiences you've had, particularly from childhood, that sort of thing, that determine how you actually act in certain situations, isn't it? When it comes to these sort of moral.
Absolutely.
Because I know, Mariella, sometimes you've struggled with the question of good and evil and everything, haven't you?
I have.
And particularly if you're thinking in terms of a transcendent God, why is there good and evil?
Very much so, yeah.
Why doesn't he just stop it?
Yeah.
But when you start thinking, that we are all expressions of that one consciousness, you suddenly realise it comes down to us to make the difference.
Yeah, for ourselves and for others as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, to make that experience a better thing.
Through education and compassion and empathy and so forth.
Yeah. And then by extension...
And look, energy plays into that too.
Exactly. I was just about to say that.
I've spoken to people a lot recently who have had really difficult separations from partners, narcissism, all that sort of stuff, and who then have to co-parent. And, that's a whole minefield of its own.
Yeah.
But a lot of them I've sort of said, look, rather than feeling anger all the time or frustration in that, try just sending love into all of your interactions, like acceptance, not love as in I love you and everything's fine, but acceptance. You are you and that's fine. And I'm going to go into this interaction with love, like with caring love.
Do you ever get people that come to you, to your practice, because they kind of recognise that they're coming from a place of anger and hatred and those sort of feelings? Or do those people not generally have enough sort of spirituality to recognise it?
The people who come to see me are generally at the point where they realise, They
realise.
I don't generally, I try to draw, I'm open to drawing the right people who need me, so that when I first started doing what I do, I made a deal with the universe and I said, okay, I'm here to do this for the people that need me, and I know that you'll show them to me, and that I'll be supported in doing what I do. So that was that's my deal, So and that's what I find. People find me.
People find you. Yeah. The right people find you because you're the right person to help them. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
You can vouch for that.
I can vouch for that because I found Sascha just at the right time, and she was the perfect person to help me.
How did you meet Sascha?
So it was actually through Ruth and Adrienne, who ran Kindred Spirits, and a local store centred on spirituality.
Yep.
And they were promoting your sound baths, your gong baths that you were hosting in Fernvale, and finally managed to get to one. And it just, that very first experience, it was beyond just the sound bath. There was a much more spiritual experience behind it, and it really brought to a head that
really resonated.
There is more to my existence than just this human.
Can I just ask then, on this basis, we're talking about energy, we're talking about Reiki, chakras with the energy wheels. You're now talking about sound.
Yeah.
All these things to me sound like something to do with frequencies.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yep.
And frequency is energy, really, isn't it?
Frequency is energy, is it?
I think it is.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Because so with sound healing, again, so it works on the basis that we're all energy, but it also works on the basis that our bodies are, I believe, 75% water, give or take a couple of percentages. I don't know.
I think mine's more, but No, mine's 75% tea.
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
That's what I need. 75% caffeine.
40% Ribena.
So, like energy and frequency. So Mariella, you're saying that energy and frequency is kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Frequency's sort of movement of energy. Of the energy. Yeah. Okay. And how does that relate? How does that then relate, Sascha, to these like seven chakras that we've got? How do the frequencies and the energies? How does it work? I suppose I'm asking.
Okay, so let's go into sound healing for a sec, just so we get a basis for that, and then we can compare the two.
Mm-hmm.
So sound healing works on the fact that we're energetic beings. Our bodies are made up of 75% water,
right?
And that the instruments that we use release a vibration that goes through the body.
Okay.
And the vibration, obviously, if you think about, like if you bang a gong and you had a bowl of water in front of it, you'd see the ripples.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the vibration coming out. That's what's happening to your body. It's vibrating through your body. So they've done a lot of research into it's different hertz. So hertz, not to get too technical, but there's they've measured a healing hertz. I think it's 174 from memory.
Yep.
And so things that resonate, so the vibrate at that 174 hertz are actually a healing through your body. Like your body recognizes that as, that's a healing frequency. Frequency, that's the word I'm looking for. They've done research on different sounds that have different reactions in your body. It's a lot of work that's gone into it over the last.
Do these correspond to the actual chakras? So different frequencies
in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Not per se. So the frequencies more relate to just your body as a whole. So the frequency, the vibration comes through your body as a whole. But if you look at that, obviously your body is made of chakras. So yes, it is going through your chakras. And in a sound healing, for example, people are often like, I hope I don't I hope I don't snore, I hope I don't make noise, I hope I don't cough, whatever. And I always say to them, whatever you need to do, get it out, because that's things coming through your body for release. Yep. And I often have people coughing who they haven't come in coughing, they're not sick, they don't cough when they leave, but in the middle of a sound healing will start coughing, and that's releasing something that's stuck in their throat chakra.
Bit of a release,
so it's that vibration coming through to get it out.
That kind of strikes me a little bit like when you go to a massage and you've got like a knotted up muscle or something like that, and they work you, and then it sort of releases it, and you feel that release. This is sort of like a spiritual, like a chakra massage.
Yeah,
is that what it is?
Basically,
yes.
Yeah. So Mariella went to. You went to one of Sascha's gong baths, didn't you? What was that like? Does that fit with what she's just explained?
Definitely, yeah, yeah. So you feel that vibration going through you by means of the sound. You feel very relaxed. Yeah, I think I dozed off for a little bit there as well. So, but yeah, no, it's very relaxing. And I think the fact that you've given yourself the time to actually stop and relax, not feel guilty about it, then add to that the sound, the vibration. You've given your body a chance to absorb something positive rather than negative.
I'm just curious what these sounds are actually doing. Are they kind of moving the energy around your body, or?
Yeah,
trying to unblock again. any.
A bit like when you unblock a toilet, when you sort of put a plunger down and you move it around a bit.
It's the water. That's right.
It's the water.
It's
75%.
It's not. I don't think it's quite as aggressive as a plunger.
It's not quite as aggressive as a plunger.
Depends how stuck it is.
Yeah, but no. I know this sounds a bit crazy, but if you're 75% water and you've got all these sort of energy points that maybe are getting blocked up, and then you're immersing yourself in a sound bath, it's effectively moving everything from within you. It is kind of like an emotional energy massage kind of
Very
thing,
much
isn't
so,
it?
yeah.
I know that sounds...
And it works on a cellular level as well.
On a cellular level.
So the vibrations are moving the cells in your body.
Yeah,
we're energy cells. So they're moving your energy cells. So it's giving your body an opportunity to release anything that's blocked. So often after a sound healing, and I always say to people, okay, tonight, hopefully you'll have a really good sleep, because most people, or everyone generally is really relaxed after it and a bit, like, whoa, what just happened? That's amazing. But you'll often go to the toilet quite a lot especially if it's your first one, the next day. So you're physically releasing.
Yeah. It's the plunger. It's the plunger. It's a spiritual plunger is what we're talking about here. That's what's going on. Now I can actually kind of get that from the point of even the scientific side of things with that, because even if you go like to a concert or something and there's music playing and it's really quite loud and it vibrates through you, it actually feels like a spiritual experience, doesn't it? You come away from that.
You think about those big speakers at a concert and they're like going boom, boom, and your body's going zzz, zzz.
That's it, big plungers. So I get that kind of from the scientific point of view. Can we just like backtrack to the Reiki a moment? Because Reiki, as I understand it, you're not banging any gongs, or you're not even physically touching any sort of muscles or anything, are you, with Reiki? What's actually going on with Reiki?
Yeah. Okay.
How's that work?
For me, they do go hand in hand, because so this all goes. So now we're going to tie it all together with before a Reiki session, and the same thing before a sound healing, I do make sure there's a safe container around where we are. That only things that can happen for our greater good are inside that container, because I then tap into my connection to source, to the universe.
Okay.
I allow my Reiki energy to be activated, to be active, I should say. So I've been attuned to, I'm a master teacher Reiki, which means I've had 4 attunements, but I've also had attunements to other energies, which is a whole other story. But the healing energies that I have access to, and everyone can have access to, it's not because I'm special. It's just because I've gone, you know what, I want to do that to help people. So I tap into that and allow that to come through my body for the greater good of everybody who's there. I also call in everyone's spirit guides to come and help for a healing. And then the energy. So in a Reiki only session, somebody lays on the table, they're fully clothed, just laying there, just relaxing. I usually give them a blanket just so they feel a bit snuggly. I've got some relaxing music on, and then the energy comes through my hands and goes into their body. That's where it's being directed. I have no say over where that energy goes. I have no say over whether it heals their sore knee or whether it heals their headache or what it does. It's not me doing it.
Can you physically feel that energy working through you? Can you physically feel it?
Yes.
You can. What's it feel like?
My hands, people can feel it in my hands as well. So my hands get really hot.
Hot.
The energy, yes. And then when your hands go together, it's like 2 magnets repelling each other, because that's working, like that's the energy field. And so then when I connect into, so my hands are always like that over people. And when I connect into their energy field, it's like, So again, it's a bit like magnets. So they can feel generally the heat coming off my hands, and they can feel the energy that I'm emitting over them, basically.
Yeah. Well, I remember.
But the energy that's being emitted, I don't. It's not my energy. I'm not in control of what it does. But I always make the intention that I am here for their greater good and the healing that they need, and I allow that to just come through me and go to them.
Yeah, I remember one of the Reiki session I had with you, and leaving there, you were saying you'd never felt root chakra buzz like mine did.
A good thing?
I don't know. I think it was a good
If
thing.
it's buzzing, that's good. Yeah,
Buzzing's good.
When it's dormant, then it's bad. So buzzing must be great.
I was doing really good with my grounding.
So I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just being a bit curious again. I'm interested in this. You say that before you do the Reiki healing, you do something to create a safe kind of space around you. What is that kind of like some sort of chant or prayer?
An intention. So it's
an intention.
Yeah, I guess maybe you'd call it a prayer, a chant, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an intention. So I just sit there. I tap into my higher self. I tap into the universe, and I just say, and obviously I do clearing as well. So I use Palo Santo to cleanse the space. And then
Palo.
It's sort of like a sage spray.
Oh yeah, like a sage spray. Yeah.
No, it's wood. It's
wood.
You light it. You can get a spray as well, but I light it. And
so we touched briefly on this idea that there's one consciousness that operates through all, well, physical beings. I'm assuming there is. Do you believe in a spirit plane, a spirit realm of some kind, a spirit dimension? And there, I'm assuming that we're talking here that there are spirits or spirit guides that are also incarnations of that one consciousness, but they're on a spirit plane rather than a physical plane. And I'm assuming that not all of those, just the same way as we said that some are like Jesus, some are like Buddha, some are like Hitler or Stalin or Charles Manson. I'm assuming that not all spirit incarnations are good. Some spirits are bad. Is that why we're doing this sort of?
No, actually, no.
No.
I will not say that there's no such thing to me. My mind is a bad spirit.
Mm-hmm.
There are lost spirits. There are lost souls. There are upset, frustrated.
Okay.
Just like people.
Yep.
There are souls that are, I don't know why they end up not sort of passing over or going through to their next journey.
Are these people that used to be human?
And then they cause mischief.
These are ones that used to be human.
Yeah.
But they used to be incarnated as humans, and then they've died, and then the spirit has returned to like a spirit sort of plane or something, and they're still quite troubled. Yeah. They're quite troubled.
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
So they tend to, I mean, I've not come across any that are too mischievous. I've come across, I know, that's a whole different story. So the reason I do a container is it's so that we're in a safe space and that any of the answers that we get or any of the healing that happens is only for the greater good of everyone who's there.
Right.
It just means that there's no other influences happening
in the room. Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. And that all comes down to the intention. And then as a result of that, you're then acting as a conduit for source, for the universe. Yeah. With this. And so
that's why I do that protection as well, because I'm open now.
Because you're open to
receiving that. I don't want to receive anything that I don't want or that's not working in my greater good.
Just something that struck me a while back when I was doing a bit of reading about chakras, and you what was the top one again? It was the crown, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The crown. When you mentioned the crown, you didn't actually touch your body. When you said the third eye, you pointed here and here. When you said the crown, it was sort of somewhere up here.
Yeah, just sits above your head.
Just above your head. I read somewhere that the top one, the crown, is you don't leave it open. You don't want it open all the time. You only want to open it when it's necessary. Does that make sense?
You don't leave any of them open all the time.
You don't leave any of them open all the time.
All of your chakras should be closed.
Oh, okay.
Unless you're getting a healing. So that's what I do that's what happens in a Reiki session is I open the chakras and then the energy flows through, and then before I complete the session, I make sure all of those chakras are closed, and that because, yes. So that, and it's the same as your energy as a. Wow, we're getting into great realms here. I love this. Okay, this stone is a black tourmaline. I wear that because I'm an empath, and that means that my energy is often open, which means that I get drained easily, and I've had to learn to close my energy off so that I choose who to give my energy to, so it's not just out there.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it's similar with the chakras. You don't want your chakras all open
all the
time.
Yeah,
you're depleting your energy.
Well, the way I likened it to, again, probably a silly expression. I mean, we've had toilet plungers and all sorts so far. I always think of, the Wi-Fi router that you've got in your house to connect to the internet. Yeah, they have what, from a computer perspective, you have what are known as ports on a router, and if you leave a port open through the software, someone that was just sat outside your house might be able to connect to your Wi-Fi and get in, and is that that's
absolutely.
not so daft as it sounds. That's what we're saying, is it? That you've got these sort of
exactly right.
You've got these sort of ports, energy ports, where if you leave them open, you're
leaking to whatever's out there. Yeah.
So that around your neck, that is a what is that?
It's called a black tourmaline.
A black tourmaline, because I just bought Mariella one the other day. What was that one? And you said that's made you a big difference, didn't you? Big difference since you've had that on. How's that affected you?
My self-confidence.
You've probably pulled your headphone out.
I was going to say, I can't hear you, Mariella, and I want to know.
Oh, she can't hear me either.
No. There you go. Try now. Can you hear you now?
I can hear me now.
Can you hear her now?
Yes,
I can hear me now.
Yeah, she got up. She got up to let the dog in or out, and I think she must have tripped over a wire.
So I find with Tiger's Eye, it's very self-empowering. I find that it helps with my own self-confidence.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting because we share a desk. I sit opposite Mariella during the daytime, and she's doing her work, and I'm doing mine. And ever since I've bought this thing around her neck as a present for her, I've noticed that her this must be something to do with her throat chakra. She started getting really confident, and she was saying to somebody on the phone the other day, "No, I'm sorry, that's not how we're going to do this." And I was like, "Whoa, that was really confident." And I think it might have been your boss you were speaking to, wasn't it? Oh, I was like, dearie. So these things can actually that's like a crystal or something that can actually have an effect on the actual energy source itself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Again, frequency, that energy, they emit frequencies, they absorb frequencies.
Are these frequencies we're talking about, though, coming back to the energy, we're not talking like 240 volts here. These are quite subtle frequencies, aren't they? Are they barely detectable? I mean, some people I think would say, like crystals, for example,
varies.
Some people will say, oh, there's not enough frequency in that to do anything, wouldn't they?
Oh, well, if you pick up a crystal in your left hand, you'll often feel the vibration of the crystal. Like if you stop to actually go, how does that feel in my hand? You feel it.
Yeah, Mariella's just going, I told you so. She's saying that over in the corner.
It's funny, I just put this chakra bracelet on back again. Sorry to cut you off there, Sasha.
I bought her a chakra bracelet as well. Yeah.
And I've had them for a while, but I had to taken them off a few weeks ago and didn't put them back on again. And when I finally did put it back on, the line where the amethyst was pointing down towards my pointer finger, but I could feel a buzz right from that I know it sounds stupid and
No,
people would think it would be weird.
That sounds stupid.
But I could feel a sensation, like a buzzing sensation from where that amethyst was running down through to my finger.
Yeah, I don't think it sounds stupid. I think what it might be is some people are maybe more receptive to this, which is probably why you're a Reiki healer and I'm not.
That's what I was sort of going to say is that the more attuned I've become to energies, the more sensitive I am.
Yeah.
So, and a good example of this is I used to drink a lot, like as in, weekends here, woohoo, it's Friday, let's have a few drinks, like let's go to the pub, let's whatever. And as time has gone on, I am literally just not, like I used to love champagne. I can't drink more than one glass of champagne now without getting a hangover and without feeling like it. I feel it through my whole, even 2 sips. Oh,
right. You've become more sensitive to things.
Yeah, and that was interesting because that gave me a real indication into how vibrations affect our body. Mm-hmm. So if you're vibrating low and so you're like, oh, life's crap, oh my God, well, that'd be right, that happens to me all the time, people suck, oh my God. If you're going through life like that, which a lot of people do.
Yeah, I've had a few moments
vibrating
like that.
really low. Yeah. And when you're vibrating low, that's when the negative crap starts happening and you're opening yourself to potential negative entities and all sorts of stuff.
That makes sense now. Right. Okay. So when you start allowing yourself to...
Your energy is going, you're in alignment, you're buzzing, you're doing all those things. And that's what these things help you to do, to remove the blocks, to vibrate higher. You have a sound healing, you leave feeling on top of the world, and so the negative stuff can't get you.
So when you're kind of like walking around all doom and gloom and getting very sort of self-indulgent in how bad everything is, and I've done that on a few occasions. It's almost like it's almost like you're leaking energy, isn't it? You're losing energy somewhere. You're losing it somewhere,
or you're blocking the positive from
you're blocking
flowing.
The positive, and I assume as well, if you're losing your energies and all that sort of thing, you're not likely to be able to top them up either if you're vibrating at such a low level, are you?
Yeah, because you're losing it and you're not
topping. Well, you're not doing anything spiritual, are you? When you're feeling sort of that insular kind of thing, you're not even sort of thinking, I need to do something about this. You're just sitting there feeling sorry for yourself, aren't you?
It's everybody else's fault.
And it's everybody else's fault, yeah. But then when you start,
and let's take that to a next level.
Go on, please, yeah.
If you think about, so I love everyone at the moment. It's the law of manifestation's back, which I love, but I mean it goes through its ups, its ebbs and flows. All of a sudden, it's the law of attraction. If the idea is that everything in the universe is energy, so not just us, but everything, and the law of attraction is that you draw into you what you think about. So what you focus on is what you receive. Yeah. Okay. If we're always manifesting, then when you're in that low vibrational state, you're manifesting crap. Mm-hmm. You are manifesting negative situations. You are manifesting, and then that you're on that roll. You're like, oh, of course, that always happens to me. Of course it does. And you're just literally perpetuating your own, negative. Because if literally the law of manifestation is that you attract what you focus on, then we are all manifesting all the time. Yeah. That's the awesome news, because if we are actually all manifesting all the time, all you've got to do is change the way you're thinking. Realize that you deserve to be happy, that you deserve the best in life, just like everybody does. You're not better than anyone else. You're not worse either. So if we realize all of that, then we're just you're drawing in what's right.
Yeah, especially if this principle of oneness is correct as well, that we're all each other. We're all the same one consciousness working through different bodies. If we could all get onto the same page with the way that we think, it may not even be a case of only bringing good things to us personally. It could be that we could be bringing good things to us socially, even across kind of national borders and that sort of thing.
Collective consciousness.
Yeah, globally.
Collective consciousness. Yeah. So, because it always strikes me, particularly when there's a lot of wars and things going on, conflicts going on in the world, like there is at the moment, there's one or two going off. It always strikes me as it's actually a very simple answer, and the answer is stop fighting each other. That's the answer.
Exactly.
And people say, well, that's too simple. But that is the answer.
Mm.
If you want war to stop fighting. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you could get everybody,
It's like guns.
if you could get everybody,
I'm the same with guns. I'm like, don't have guns, and no one will shoot
yeah.
each other. Literally, there's the solution.
that's the thing.
That's
If you
it.
didn't have guns,
Because
no one would
guns
ever get
create the
shot.
need for guns.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly. No, exactly. And it's a collective conscious type of thing. And we're talking again about moving energy, aren't we? So it's kind of we're not just talking about subtle energy here that you can barely feel. We're talking about things that you can kind of escalate onto a much bigger scale if you concentrate on it. Do you have any do you ever have any kind of like get-togethers or conferences or conventions or anything with other Reiki healers?
Yeah, so I do lots of different things to fill my cup as well as help others.
That's what I'm thinking. I bet it's kind of really like buzzing when you're there, is it?
It really is.
Yeah.
So I have a group of awesome women I catch up with every 3 weeks, and it is for me a not negotiable to miss that meeting, because after that day I leave feeling absolutely buzzed, and we're talking, other energy healers, astrologists, counselors, they're all different walks of life, but all spiritual people and all healers. And the energy that I feel when I'm in that room is just phenomenal, And it's the same when I work with, I've got some beautiful people that I work with. So they do breath work and I do the sound healing for their workshops. And when we all come together and work together, like it's like we're high because we're just buzzing. Like we're just like, this is awesome.
See, now I know I'm in the I'm in the wrong profession.
Well, we're gonna get on to being an empath in a little bit, and I'm going to let you two ladies talk to each other. I think Mariella should be in something like you're doing. Some sort of area like that, because that's kind of where she's empathic, and she's got quite a few skills. Unlike me. No, I'm not. I always thought I was an empath, and I am actually. I'm quite empathic, aren't I? Mm-hmm. Always thought I was an empath until I met Mariella, and her level of empath is like it actually physically affects her, like to the point where she'll be crying, and she doesn't know why.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. We'll get onto that in a moment. So Little House of Healing. So you do Reiki, you do sound healing, that's like your gong baths and all that kind of thing. You also do hypnotherapy, which I know we're going to do another podcast at some point about hypnotherapy, aren't we? I'd like to try and see if you can actually hypnotherapy me, because I've heard it said that not everyone can be hypnotised.
Not true. If you can sleep, you can be hypnotised.
Oh, I can sleep, yeah.
He does that very well.
Sleeping is my hobby. So it's not just you don't just have to be sort of an emotionally or mentally sort of weak, suggestible person to be hypnotised.
No.
Really?
No. The two things are, so the first thing I asked when I started, because I did a full diploma in hypnotherapy, so there are a lot of people out there who do, a 2-day Udemy course, and, it's actually quite dangerous because, again, when you go into hypnotherapy, you are actually opening doorways, and you want to make sure that you're doing that in a safe manner, and you want to make sure that you're able to deal with any adverse reactions that may come up and help people heal through that. I've forgotten what I was going to say then about the second thing. So the first thing I asked was, a few people have told me that they can't be hypnotised, and they said no. Because what it is if you can sleep, you can be hypnotised, because the state that you go into is called theta state, and it feels like when you wake up in the morning but you're not quite awake yet, that state where you're aware but you're not fully aware, that's the state that you go into. So if you can go into theta state, you can be hypnotised.
I can do that. You had a few thoughts on that with the hypnotherapy, didn't you? You've had a bit of hypnotherapy.
Yes, another session with Sascha as well. Yeah,
you had a session. What was that like?
It was nothing like I expected. And what again, coming from a religious background where it's, ooh, you don't allow anybody control over your mind. And so I sought out Sascha because I knew I could trust her if I was going to be in that kind of a state. But then when we'd be going through the session, I'm thinking, am I being hypnotised or am I not? Am I hypnotisable? Because I was still aware of what was going on, but
you didn't give up all of your control and be thoroughly possessed.
Yeah, it was totally different to what I had been led to believe that it was. And I can't
and as we
recommend you high enough.
You're always in control.
Yes.
So I can't, as a hypnotherapist, I can't make you do something that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So if someone comes to me and they don't want to go under, but they're saying, "Oh, hypnotise me," but they don't want to be like, then I can't.
You can't make
go
them.
under.
No, yeah, you can't
go into hypnosis.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, I can't be hypnotised," and I think that's often because. So you do levels of deepening to bring people into that theta state, and I think some people don't do enough of that, and then just go boom. That's but yeah. So that's
you're
as a whole.
You are the littlehouseofhealing.com.au. Is that your website? Yes. Nice pinky purple on the cover there, and it says that you do hypnotherapy. High vibrations, that's good. Counselling sessions, which can also involve hypnotherapy. The Reiki healing, which is where you free up some of these blocked chakras. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And then you've got the
plunger out.
And then you've got the sound healing where you get the plunger out. Yeah, I love it. That's really good. So that's if you're following this, I'll put a link in the description of this video to the littlehouseofhealing.com.au. And just to plug as well while we're at it, you've got a Reiki. I keep calling it Reiki because I'm British and we say Reiki. You say Reiki, we say Reiki. You've got a Reiki level 1 course. Is this a workshop or a course?
Workshop. Yep. So you it's a certification, so it's teaching people, attuning them to
how to do
the
it.
level 1 Reiki, so they will leave being able to use Reiki on themselves.
Okay.
Understand what Reiki is. They'll have a manual and a really great day where they meet some like-minded people.
So it's a one day workshop, 1 day course.
Yeah. So it's about 4 or 5 hours, just depending on how many people we have.
And when and where is this?
So that'll be on the 3rd of December in Ipswich. Location to be confirmed, just depending on numbers.
Okay.
But Ipswich.
People can get in touch with you via your website.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll be doing another one, another start. So it's level 1, 2, and 3 that I generally do.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm doing that level 1 starting in Ipswich in December, but I'll be doing one over in Redcliffe area.
Do you do
in probably January, February?
Do you do the level 2 and 3 as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how many hours does the level 2 take?
Look, the days are all around the same. Level 1's the biggest one because you're actually getting a whole background on understanding Reiki, where it came from and all that sort of thing. And it's a very big introduction. Level 2, obviously you already have that grounding and foundation, so it doesn't tend to take as long, but it still goes for about 4 hours. And the same with level 3. Because you're integrating what you're getting an attunement. You're integrating what you've learnt. We're talking about what's been happening since the last attunement. There's a lot that
can people, if they come along to that workshop, 3rd of December in Ipswich, if they come along to that and do the level 1, they can then progress to level 2, level 3 at a later point. And then
yes, absolutely,
what would they need to do if they actually wanted to go on to do what you do, which is actually doing Reiki healing on people?
Yep. So you just need to then do teacher level. So there's 3 levels that get you to master level, and then there's another level that is teaching level.
Yeah, that's similar to I used to do I was a first aid trainer, And we used to do the same thing. You had to do the sort of 3 levels of first aid to start with, so you knew what it was all about, and then you had to do a teacher qualification as well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's really good though.
Yeah, it's a beautiful process. Yeah.
So that's 3rd of December, Ipswich, level 1, Reiki healing.
That's it.
And if you want to learn more about that.
Yourself.
Okay, super. So I'm just going to take a short little break here a moment and just tell you about. I've got this little thingy that I pop up about the halfway point, and it says, "Can you please like and click the subscribe button and the little bell notification if you want to if you want to hear more videos like this one." So I've been taking the Onion Unlimited podcast in a bit of a different direction recently. So in the past, having been somebody that left a very high religious control group, a lot of my videos in the past were all about healing and rebuilding after leaving a high control religious organisation. And the last, it's sort of been probably about the last year to 3, I've been kind of doing mostly content like that, and I found it was quite therapeutic, because it was like I was telling my story. I was kind of laying everything out on the table as to what I thought was right and wrong, and where organised religion was going wrong, and then it became more of a kind of a study of spirituality in general. And then I found that I was talking about more things to do with my own spiritual development moving forward. And then I started formulating some of these sort of ideas about Advaitism and Pandeism and spirituality in general. And now I'm at the point where I'm starting to dip my toe into all kinds of things that I've just suddenly discovered there's like a whole new world out there of just all these other interesting things, the Reiki. And I had somebody on the other day talking about pendulums, and had a little reading with that person. That was also very positive. It's just there's a whole different world out there, isn't there, to what I was used to. So
the more you learn, the more there is to know. That's what I love about it.
The more there is
to do. When I rediscovered my spirituality, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's great. I'm spiritual now. But the more you learn, the more there is, and the more you deep dive into things, the more you grow. Oh, it's awesome.
Well, let's do that. Let's get into this spiritual area. Let's move into spirituality and empath ability. So I'm just gonna hand over to Mariella a bit here. So I'll press the button and bring Mariella up.
Hi.
Do you want to just talk about empathy? Not empathy, empathic ability. Different thing, isn't it? Just talk about that. What's an empath? Yeah. What is an empath? How do you know if you're an empath? What do empaths feel? How can you use it for the greater good? Over to you.
I'll let Sascha explain that one better. Yeah, she can get the juices flowing, and then I can talk about my experience. You jump in, because I'm just
going to sit here and listen and drink tea.
Yeah. So lately, especially, I've met a lot of people who are empaths and haven't realised that. And that was the situation I was in a few years ago. So I'm sort of feeling compelled to talk about it to a lot of people so that people do understand what's happening with them, because it can be really confusing. Mm-hmm. So being an empath basically means that you feel other people's feelings.
Yeah.
That's different to being compassionate. When you're compassionate, you feel for other people. You look at them and you think, I really feel for that person. When you're an empath, you actually feel what that person's feeling. So when you watch a movie and somebody's crying, you are literally feeling the emotions of that person. Even though it's just a movie, it will generally make you cry because you're feeling their emotions. But it can also bring on physical ailments, which is why I like to talk about it so much, because not only can it be a situation where if I always like to use the example of if you're living with somebody who suffers from depression and they're feeling depressed, then you're waking up and you feel depressed. Often it's not your feelings. You think you're feeling depressed, but actually you're feeling that person's feelings. So it's really good to sit and analyze and say, hey, is this my feeling? Like, is it, really sit with it for a moment and say, and usually once you ask it, if it's really yours, it'll go, which is really amazing. I know it sounds a bit woo-woo, but it will go. But the physical ailments happened as well. And I noticed this when my mum came to live with me after she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I was going down to the granny flat to see her in the morning, say, hey, how you going? To be like, oh, I've got a headache. Oh, okay, well, I'll give her some Panadol and, see how your day goes. And, this sort of went on for a while. And then I would wake up with a headache. And I'm not a headache person. Don't have headaches. It's not a thing for me, luckily. So while I was waking up with headaches, and I'd be like, what? And then I'd go down and see her. She'd be like, oh, I got a headache. I'm like, okay. I started putting two and two together going, hang on a minute. Every time I have a headache, she's got a headache. So then eventually I started testing it, and I would go down and see her and say, oh, how are you today? Have you got a headache? She's like, I do. I'd be like, oh, I know, because I'm feeling it. And then I started to understand that I was actually feeling other people's ailments. And then it got to the point where, so in my work that I do, it's really handy, but it can also be really overpowering. Mm-hmm. So I did a retreat about 2 years ago, and one of the ladies there, I woke up in the morning after the first night of the retreat. I woke up in the morning, my gums were bleeding. They were, I was in intense pain and my gums were bleeding. And I was like, this is out of the blue. What's going on? So I went up to the main area and I said to the girls, has anyone got stuff going on with their teeth? And this woman said, yeah, I've got bleeding gums. I've got these issues. I'm like, right, can we sort this out? Because it's really hurting me.
Oh.
And so I started realizing that even the physical ailments are not mine. So I have to actually sit there and say, if you're not mine, leave me now. And then, it goes on from there.
Mariella, do you want to say
but I know
something about
Mariella also feels these things.
Yes. So over the years I have experienced feelings of other people, what they're going through. The first time I realised that something was different, I mean, as a kid, if I was at an airport and I saw people crying, I'd cry because it was like, oh, they're so sad. Oh, they're so happy. And I'd just start crying. And Dad knows if I'm watching a movie, I'm a blubbering mess by the end of anything because,
Well, she was a blubbering mess the other day on the phone when she was talking to someone about an invoice not being paid. That was weird.
That was
it?
yesterday. I was just like, oh, so no, that was I'm just highly emotional at the moment, but this is different. So I was about 18, and I woke up one night in the middle of the night, and I was in emotional anguish, and I didn't know why. What it was that woke me up. Why I was feeling such heartbreak. It was like my whole world had come to an end, and I said, what is this? Turns by morning, and I was crying for hours, and my mum and dad were like, what is wrong with you? You're having an anxiety attack. But it wasn't that. We ended up getting a phone call probably about mid-morning from family in Malta with the news that my auntie had died, and I'd always had a really, really strong connection with her daughter, my cousin. And I put two and two together, and I thought I was feeling Josephine's pain of losing her mother.
Yeah.
I was 18, she would have been 15. I mean, and that made me sit back and think, wow, this is a really strong, and to think, you're in a totally different time zone, different hemisphere, totally different country. You're not even physically in the room with a person. But that anguish, and that I put it down to that. And recently, probably about 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago.
Probably about.
Yeah. I mean, my life at the moment is fantastic. I'm happy. I have, my depression is under control. Yeah. My anxiety is under control. And all of a sudden I just started feeling this overwhelming sadness.
Yeah.
And I said to Dan, I'm feeling someone else's loss. Something.
And it was someone that she didn't even know. She didn't even know who it was.
At that time, I didn't know who it was. So after a couple of days, I thought, no, I'm going to put this out on Facebook, and I'm going to, and on social media, and say, look, whoever you are, if it's someone that I do know, I want you to know I'm feeling what you're feeling. You're not alone, even though you're feeling like you've lost absolutely everything. And I'm going to ride this out with you, whoever you are. And I never heard anything back from anyone in my circle. And I thought, okay, so it's obviously not someone I know, which was quite intriguing for me because normally it's someone I do know, whereas this was a totally different experience. To the point where one night we were watching TV, a movie together, and I said to Dan, I'm going to be sick.
Oh, yeah, she actually got up and ran to the bathroom and was physically sick.
And I explained it to Dan, like it felt like the E.T. and Elliot moment where E.T.'s drunk and Elliot's having drunken movements at school. He's in the E.T. movie. That is exactly what I could taste the triple distilled vodka that she was downing in copious amounts. And I couldn't
cheap way to get your booze.
I couldn't lift my head up off. I was down on my knees,
awful,
and I just couldn't lift my head up. It was like, I was like, what the hell is going on? So we have a friend who is a spirit medium, and she said, okay, we need to sort this out. We need to work out who it is. Turns out it was somebody by the name of Michelle Norris.
And we still don't know who that is.
And I still have no idea who this person is. But once I had a name, I was able to talk her through. And she was going to end it, and I could talk her through it. And it was like, okay, I'm here. I'm feeling it. You're not on your own.
And it got better, didn't it?
And it got better. I could tell when she was asleep. And then I could tell when she'd woken up. And so that was about a 2-week period.
That's going on further then as well, from just being an empath to also being, I think, is it
sentient?
One of the Claires.
Yeah.
Sentient, yeah. And I can understand similar. I've had those similar experiences throughout my time, not with someone I don't know. Well, with people I don't know, but not quite like that. But yeah, that's also, so that brings in a level of that energy connection where you're connecting to the universe.
This is a really high sensitivity to these frequencies and vibrations, isn't it? Higher than maybe I manifest. Yeah.
So it took about 2 weeks, but it settled. But every night or every moment that I started feeling the agitation, because I knew it wasn't my own agitation. Every time I started feeling the agitation, it was like, okay, sweetie. And once I knew what her name was, I would say, okay, Michelle, you're not on your own. It's okay. I'm here. I'm feeling it. I know what you're experiencing right now. I don't know the full story, but I know how it's feeling. But you're strong enough. You can get through this. And it's funny. I could feel that within herself, she was starting to feel more confident. I can't explain how I felt, how I know that.
So that's the knowing. I can't think of what Claire that is off the top of my head. It's the same one that I have. I should know the name of it, but it's a knowing. It's so like there's people see things, people hear things. There's a knowing.
Sense things.
Know things.
I sense things very strongly. Yeah. Yeah, so that was my experience. So when I saw your little reel on Facebook about empaths, I was like, oh, I've got to talk to you about this. It was just perfect timing. So
it's called, for anyone who's interested, it's called claircognizance.
Claircognizance.
Your clairsentience is recognising feelings, and claircognizance is knowing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're not just feeling, you're actually knowing.
So that's so there's two levels to that. So there's the being an empath.
Yeah.
But then there's that next level of actually being coming into your gifts.
So you're not just feeling like the person. You are actually feeling the person's actual feelings, what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Which goes to substantiate again this idea we said at the beginning that we're all connected in some way. Is there anything else that you want to tell us that's interesting about empaths, Sascha?
Look, I just wanted to tell you, if anyone's listening out there and they're resonating with what we're talking about, I guess I just wanted to sort of say the really important things to know are that generally with those feelings or physical or emotional, is if you call them out, they will generally go. So Mariella went one extra step and she actually leant into it and embraced it. And you can do that, but unless you have the clear cognizance to go with that, it might be a bit hard because you're going to be stuck with the feeling. So protect yourself. The other thing is cutting cords. So I don't know if, Dan, you've heard about cutting cords, but it's really important when you're an empath. So there's along those lines of we are all connected. As we go about our business and we're walking around the streets, going through shopping centres, we're working in an office, whatever we're doing, every interaction that we have with someone creates a cord, a connection. Even if you just look at somebody and your eye contact in the street, you forms a cord because there's a connection. You've recognised each other as another human, So by the time we get home at the end of the day, especially for empaths, we're feeling all of these people's emotions, like what's happening with them as well as our own life. So it's really important at the end of the day to actually just consciously cut all the cords that you have attached to for the day. So it's literally just an intention thing. So I use Archangel Michael because he has a sword, and I just picture him cutting all the cords because they come from your heart chakra. So cut all the cords that I have attached today for me, and release anything that's not mine.
Oh, that's good.
I'm just staring at Mariella across the room there. You're thinking about Brisbane, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, that was another experience.
We went into Brisbane. Well, you tell the story. We went into Brisbane. We're from a pretty quiet little backstreet country
We're in Lowood,
town,
so
aren't we?
Country town. So Dan and I went into Brisbane city, caught the train in. He came in to work with me that day. And I normally work from home, so I don't have a lot of external energies around us. Yeah.
She's just got me sitting opposite the desk saying, "Can you put the kettle on again?"
So the vibe going into Brisbane was fine. There was nothing nothing to comment on there. But as we were walking, at the end of the day, we were walking back to the train station, I said to Dan, I can just feel the heaviness. It was just so overwhelming and so heavy.
She kept saying to me, "Can you like see the difference between the people now and like when they were going in the morning?" I said, "Well, they look a bit more tired than they did this morning."
I said, "No, it's not tiredness. It's this weight and this drudgery. Like I would have expected it going in, but not going out." And it just took, even on the train, I said to him, I just feel so tired. I felt so drained.
And she came home and slept for ages, didn't you?
Yeah. So
that's interesting. Exhausting. So that this is like this cord kind of thing that you're talking about. This strikes me again. I know a lot of these things people go, it's all woo woo and it's not based in science or whatever. But I tend to think that everything is somehow based in something that would be scientifically explainable if we only had enough knowledge about the thing or we knew how to express it. Yeah. I mean, Mariella says often that the these feelings of like energy running through the universe or energy running through you and what have you, it's kind of from a science point of view, we talk about electromagnetism and the quantum forces and all these kind of things. From a Christian perspective, we used to talk about Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. I think we're talking about the same. The same. There is a force or an energy that runs through everything, and then from a quantum point of view, when we in quantum mechanics we talk about observations, and things only become real when you have an observer that observes a situation. You also get situations where particles get entangled with each other. and you can change one, and it instantly affects.
If you split it,
affects the other one.
Half, yeah.
When you're talking about chords, connections, chords, this kind of thing, I can almost imagine like a kind of vibratory energy field, like a string connecting the two of us.
Yeah, that's
empath, exactly how I see it.
Yeah, as an empath, it's very difficult to break it. You just feel connected, always connected, unless you...
Yeah, you can't stop it.
Yeah.
Like, so, and that's the thing. Most people go through their day-to-day existence and the chords are there, but it's okay because they don't feel other people's feelings.
Yeah.
They're still connected, but they don't feel it.
That's when it's a problem.
That almost strikes me again, like, you know, you're saying about opening and closing your chakras. It's almost like you've got a tube between the two of you, and it's like your energy's coming, their energy's coming out of them and going into you, sort of thing. So you've got to come home and kind of cut the cord and close the connections down. So how do you actually do that? You talked about Michael there. I presume you're thinking about an actual spirit being of some kind.
Yeah, archangel.
There's archangels.
These are actual real beings
ones around.
Okay, yeah.
They're known beings, you know, like, and then they're in the Bible as well. If you look,
yeah, they are. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
So, but you know, I don't know why I chose him. It seemed logical at the time. I seemed to have an affinity for some reason. And he's got a sword, so I was like, what better way of...
Handy.
Someone just explained this to me once, that this is what's happening and you need to cut the cords.
So what do you do? Do you like pray?
I automatically saw them.
Do you say a prayer or something? Do you say a prayer?
No, I just picture him cutting the cords.
Oh, you picture it.
And then I picture the cords going off away and mine coming back to me. I give gratitude. I also often stand under a waterfall of light. And just
in your mind,
like it wash over me.
This is sort of a mental image.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't literally do it. Yeah. So these are sort of like mental images.
Yeah, that's right.
Things that you do. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if everything's intention and it's energy, then my intention is that I'm cleansing myself from the day, and that's my, you know, that's the intention. And it's interesting. Or just touching on what you were saying before about like the scientific thing. I don't know what the science behind why a girl that I've never met before can get bleeding gums, and
that was strange, wasn't it?
Pick up her bleeding gums. I don't know the science behind that, but I just know that it's real because I've never had bleeding gums before or since. So
do you know what I think it might be?
It's the same with my mum. I thought that was just because we were, you know, we're family, we're bonded. But then when I started realizing I pick up, you know, and it was really, I was doing massaging for a while and it was really good because my clients would come in with sore shoulders and I'd know exactly where to massage. I'd say, oh, that's the spot there, isn't it? And they'd be like, yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, because I'm feeling your pain.
Because you're feeling
so
it.
I know when
I wonder if there's, so there's, you've heard of quantum entanglement, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone that doesn't know what quantum entanglement is, it's essentially when you get particles, presumably all the way back to the very beginning when particles came into existence from the singularity, you would have like two particles that they may have actually even been one particle at one point, and they separated, and they're almost like they're little twins of each other, these two particles. And it doesn't matter how far away they go in the universe, you know, the Big Bang may have thrown them, you know, hundreds of millions of light years away from each other. When one turns one way, it's not literally like that. We call it spin in quantum mechanics, but it's just a sort of illustrative way of referring to it. When one spins left, the other spins right. And when the other one spins left, the other one turns right. But it's instant. You know, most things in the universe, if you affect one thing, you turn a dial at one end, it takes a while for the light bulb to go on or whatever at the other end, yeah? But with quantum entanglement, it's an instant effect. So you change this one changes. Which is pretty amazing, that, isn't it? There was an article recently in one of the science magazines I read. They've actually managed to take a picture. I think it's like a radio picture of a photograph or whatever of two particles entangled. It's the first time they've been able to do it, and it actually looks identical to the yin and yang symbols. You know,
wow, I love that.
Yeah.
Have a look at that. It's online. The first images they managed to get of an actual quantumly entangled pair. I wonder if something like that's going on, because you said at the beginning that we're all made up of matter, all these sort of energies and things. Even if you can't sort of put your finger on it, it is all to do with the fact that we are made up of matter.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if, like, when you're feeling something in somebody else, maybe there's some of that quantum entanglement going on. It may be that you've actually got particles that make up your body that may actually be in them as well. I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure, like, maybe I've got particles that are quantumly entangled with you. It probably just comes down to how many you've got and how sensitive you are to feel it when your gums start bleeding, then Sasha's does. It's like, did your gums actually bleed, or did you just feel it?
Yeah. No, they actually were bleeding, and I was in intense pain. I was like, this is like the sort of. I was like, I don't know what. I was like, I don't know what's happened to my mouth. This is unbelievable. That overnight I've woken up with this pain and bleeding gums. Like, brushed my teeth, there was blood coming out. I was like, what is suddenly going on? Like, I couldn't.
Have you ever had any? Have you ever been to sort of any universities or anything and been tested for your empath abilities?
No.
I think that would be an interesting study. That, I wonder if.
I'm just
get a few
empaths,
get a few empaths together and do a few experiments and see. If I poke you, do you feel it? You're not going to experiment.
I don't want to be a guinea pig.
You don't want to be. I just find I find it really intriguing. My little intriguing mind. I'm thinking, what experiments could I do on you?
Yeah, no.
If I get you both quantumly entangled and then I poke one of you in the eye, does the other one feel it? So that really strikes me as interesting. That really strikes me as interesting, because I've never really thought of it like that. That empath, you're not just feeling the same as the other person. You are actually feeling you're actually feeling their actual feelings.
Yeah, their feelings. That's right. Yeah.
That's really.
So that's why you can't understand it all the time, because you're like, well, I'm not upset that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Bob in that, that actually doesn't upset me. Why am I crying?
Why are you crying?
Yeah.
Why am I feeling overwhelmed by all this emotion? And then you look at it, you go, oh, because that I'm feeling, that person. Yeah.
Somebody else. You need to be getting old Michael with his little sword.
Yeah, and protection of your energy as well.
Yeah.
So that's really important to. So like what I was saying earlier about how when I do sound healings or whatever, I put a protection bubble around me. I often do that if I'm going into busy spaces. Just put a protection bubble around me, and I just envisage that I can give my energy to people, but their energy can't come in. And it's only who I choose to give my energy to, not just everybody, because I used to just be open all the time and I was always depleted.
Yeah, you drained.
So now I do the bubble, I do the protection. I go, okay, I'm happy to give my energy to this person or that person, and that's helped immensely. Yeah.
So I've got a little question for you. You've got to be really honest with this. What sort of energy are you sensing off of me? Have I got good energy? Have I got good energy? Am I a little bit
energy?
I'm pretty good energy, am I? Good energy.
You do have good energy. I like it. You're you're
Mariella's
definitely you're an open. Like, I feel openness from you, and I feel
God. Do you know sometimes
curiosity for the world.
Do you know sometimes that openness in the past I've been criticised for that, because I've been you're too open, you're too honest, and all this sort of thing, and sometimes it does get me hurt. Sometimes I do get hurt as a result of being so open and honest with people, but it's just how
You don't know how to be any other way.
I don't know how to be any other way. No,
and none of us should be. We're here. What I believe is we're here for a reason. One reason. That's it, and that's to be who we are.
And it's a funny thing. I don't know if you've ever done the. Have you ever come across the Myers-Briggs personality test? Have you come across that? I don't know what personality you are, but I'm an INFJ, so I'm very intuitive. Intuition. What are you?
Is an INFJ-A or something?
Yeah, is that the same as you?
Yeah.
Are you an INFJ? Yeah, so am I. Yeah, -A. The A is advocate. So So
Yeah.
I'm intuitive. I tend to work off intuition. That's the I. No. Sorry, the I is introverted, where I get my energy from being alone, not with people. Even though I'm quite personable, I actually get drained when I'm with people for too long. N is the intuition, so I'm very intuitive. Same with you, and same with Mariella. You're also an INFJ, aren't you? INF is we tend to feel things more than think things. So we tend to work on our heart. And then the J is an interesting one because that is all about judgment. Not in the sense that you go around judging things or people, but that you like things to be fair and you like to see things just and things... you don't like loose ends to things. You like things tied up. So quite organised. And then the advocate side, it's quite interesting because you're doing your healing. My background is I'm very much into teaching. I used to be a trainer. I tend to be into things like counselling and that sort of thing. So I'm a life coach. Mariella's INFJ, and you do a cracking job of what you do, which is accountancy. But I really think you're in the wrong business.
I feel that I'm feeling that more and more at the moment, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you should be doing.
But you got to remember too that the changes will happen when the time's right.
That's right.
Like,
Yes.
You know.
I mean, about a year ago,
these little things are being dropped.
Yeah, early last year, I started doing a forensic healing course, but it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Goodness gracious, and I haven't gotten back to it, but life got in the way.
It's time.
Yeah, it's time. It's coming. So I really want to be able to help others heal. That is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just because I want to be a people pleaser. It's because I genuinely want to see people healed and happy.
Yeah.
And then pay it forward and do the same for someone else.
Yeah.
And just,
I'm guessing,
get
I'm
that
guessing
collective consciousness.
I'm guessing that's how you feel as well, isn't it, Sascha, about what you do? Does it feel like a job or does it feel like your calling?
Oh, but calling, definitely. I mean, I was in customer service for 25 years, managing production lines, steel companies and stuff like that. Good at what I did. It was, what would you say, satisfying in a way, like it was okay. But when I had my I call it my spiritual reawakening, almost 3 years ago now, I think, it just hit me like a ton of bricks that I've just spent the last, all those years kind of asleep almost, going through the motions. And all of a sudden it was just like, boom, you got stuff to do, girl, get going.
That's it.
And so and it was like only a couple of months after that I opened my Reiki business. I don't even know what Reiki, I'd done a bit of Reiki, I was doing whatever, but it was like I was just getting these strong messages, boom, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do.
Yep. Yeah.
And the rest is history.
I had a similar thing actually with the Onion Unlimited side of things. Even though it's not exactly a business as such, it just felt something I had to do. I had to get online and I had to first of all tell my story, get myself to a place spiritually where I was happy and content and able to help others, and then sort of go out there and let other people tell their stories. That was. It just feels like a bit of a calling.
Yeah.
So that's kind of bringing us just up nearly to the end of our little session together. That's been nice, hasn't it?
It's been lovely.
Is there anything that you'd like to? Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with, Sascha? And I'll ask Mariella that in a moment as well. Is there any sort of message you'd like to leave the audience with?
Not really. I guess, if you're from the empath side of things, if you're feeling things that you're confused about, look into that. Really do a lot of research. If you're interested in learning Reiki, reach out, let me know. If you have any questions, just reach out.
You don't mind people reaching out to you and talking to you?
Not at all. Happy to always answer questions.
If you're into
I'm here to help other people, help other people heal themselves. So my aim is to not sit here and go, oh, okay, I'm going to help you, and then I'm going to help you. Like, I want to help you help yourself, so you can go and help other people.
That's
and
good.
like, we need this.
Yeah.
So if that makes if that sounds good to you, go and look Sascha up for that Reiki Level 1 lesson workshop, and 3rd of December in Ipswich. That's good, isn't it? Excellent.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to leave the audiences with, Mariella?
I like it.
Is there a message? I know I like putting people on the spot. She goes,
here we go. I'm going to get all philosophical.
Here she goes. Oh no, I've got to go in now.
No.
When Mariella gets philosophical.
No. It's important to look after yourself.
I like that.
Do the inner work. It's worth the pain that you go through to realise and find yourself. Even if it's not a popular thing with those around you, you matter, you are important, and you owe it to yourself.
Yeah, that's it. I like that. I would say have a look and ask yourself whether you're living authentically.
Yeah.
That's a really big thing. And if you're not, if you feel like you're being controlled by other people on the outside, particularly if it's sort of organised religion or, sort of your culture or something like that, and you just don't feel like you're fitting in, if you're not kind of living your actual life as you feel you should be doing, I think it's really, really important that you listen to that, because the longer you stay in a situation where you're not living authentically, the more you get those emotional blockages that you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. The emotional baggage, the unhealed emotions and so on. And it's only when you move out of that space. That there's a quote I read the other day. It said that you can't become well in the same space that made you sick. Yeah. That's good, isn't it? That's really
that.
That's really good.
That is good.
You've got to move out.
And that's what those things lead to. They lead to illness.
Yeah.
If you don't listen, your body will keep telling you until you do. And
if you want a bit of plunger work, bit of the old emotional plunging, emotional massaging, you know where to go now. The little house of healing. So that's been absolutely fabulous, Sascha. Thank you so much. Just hang around for a moment. Thank you for coming on the show. Just hang around for a moment. If you've enjoyed what we're doing there, please like, even if you like it only a little bit, hit the subscribe and that little notification bell. And as soon as other videos come out like this, you'll be the first to know. So thank you everybody for listening in this evening. We've had a few people on the live stream as well listening in, which is really good. So thanks for joining us. That's all from us this time. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.